Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
All right. Quiet down. Thank you. That's much better. Juror number 7. In your opinion, as an artist, would you say you'd be able to give an unbiased perspective on the gallery selection process? Juror number 7? Hello?
Oh, me? Sorry. I wasn't really listening. Could you repeat the question?
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Very well. Juror number 7, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
That's it? Oh, okay. That was easy.
That was easy. Almost too easy. Welcome back to the show, everybody. No, this podcast episode is not about jury duty, but it is about the jury selection process in shows. We're doing a final round in our latest show, Finger Lickin' Good, at Shockbox right now. We're in the final jurying round of that, me and 9 other jurors, and we are selecting the artist for the show. And I thought, what better time to talk about submitting your art to shows, submitting your art to galleries, the do's and don'ts, what to do, what to not do, what to avoid. So let's get into it. So first off, you might be asking yourself, what makes you qualified to talk about this? Well, other than being an artist for over 20 years and submitting to many shows, many juried shows, many galleries, many just regular, garden variety shows, I also have been working with Shockbox and doing some artist correspondence for many shows for the last 4+ years. I've done jurying for close to 50 shows. I've helped curate some of the shows, and I've been kind of a liaison with the gallery and dealing with artists. So I have a lot of behind-the-scenes perspective on this, as well as a lot of experience being a juror on shows, as well as submitting to a lot of shows, being selected, being not selected, being rejected a lot, being accepted a lot. So I have kind of the artist and behind the scenes perspective on this. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because I do deal with a lot of the artist correspondence in the first place, submitting to shows. Going beyond just submitting your work to shows, sometimes you're going to be corresponding with the gallery. Sometimes you're going to be corresponding with an intern, or you're going to be corresponding with somebody who's doing the administrative work for a gallery. And the first thing I just want to say is be professional. I think a lot of people have lost their social graces recently. We're so used to kind of the texting generation and the social media generation. Be formal when you talk to a gallery. Be polite. Be respectful. Don't just be like, hey, I submitted my work, blah, blah, blah. When is the show happening? Or when is the process done? Or what percentage does the gallery take? I'm not doing this voice to make fun of anybody. I'm doing this voice to kind of emphasize how it reads on a message, on an email that you get from somebody that's just very short, that has no introduction, that doesn't introduce themselves, that doesn't say anything nice or exciting about the process. Like, I'm happy to be, submitting my work. I look forward to working with you. Anything like that. It's just like this short thing. They don't even introduce themselves, and they're just like, "Hey, how much does the gallery take?" Or some of them even have like a tone of almost being angry with the gallery before the process has even started. I just remember when I was doing this, it was like I treated it like I was going in for an interview, like a job interview. You be polite, you're respectful, you're excited to be there because you are excited. You're an artist. You want to be in the show. You want to be part of the gallery. You want to further your career by getting in here. And, you don't want to start off on the wrong foot and then start a reputation of being somebody who's difficult to work with. That's the last thing you want to do. So just, have some pleasantries. It's really easy to do. Just introduce yourself, say something nice, be respectful, show some enthusiasm, and then ask your question. And, don't push it too far. That's what I would say. When I was starting out, I didn't really, even correspond that much with a gallery. If I did, it was very professional, but I wouldn't ask like 800 questions. I wouldn't expect the gallery to do like the investigation for me. It's up to you as an artist to do that. And I wouldn't expect them to kind of help me with the process. I would figure it out. If you have something really technical, that's fine. But don't expect them to kind of hold your hand throughout the process. You're presenting yourself to them. You wouldn't do that in a professional job interview. You'd want to come across as competent as possible. And it's kind of similar in this situation. So that's kind of, the start to this. The second part of this is know your audience and know your target. And just know your specifications that the gallery has for you or the show has for you. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people don't even read the description to a show or, what's the theme to the show. It's very important. If you're submitting to a theme-based show or a gallery that has a very specific genre, like, pop surrealism or landscape art or, neo-expressionism, whatever, you want to make sure that you are going to be fitting into that gallery, that your work fits into that show, that theme, or that gallery's genre, because otherwise you're just wasting your own time, first of all, and you're wasting the gallery's time because it's not that your art is not good, it's just that it's not right for their audience or it's not right for the show's theme. There's a lot of people who will just submit something and it's like, oh, you didn't even read this. Or maybe they did read it and they're like, I'll just submit some of my work and just see what happens. Well, sometimes there's a fee or there's a time commitment and you don't want to be spending that on something that's going to be frivolous because it's just probably not going to land. There's a lot of stuff that is right thematically for a show or for a gallery and still doesn't make it in based on whatever, the people jurying it, the gallery's aesthetic, their client base, what they know from experience has sold or works well in their gallery or in their show. So just make sure that you do your homework on that and you know what you're submitting. Like what the theme is, first of all, of either the show or the gallery, the genre of art. You know that your work fits the bill, first of all, and that you might want to do your homework even a little bit more on like what has the gallery done in the past? What kind of shows have they had in the past? What's the aesthetic there? What is their client base like? Like what are their collectors like to buy? What do other people who have made it into the gallery or into the show, what does their art look like? What kind of attitude do they have? What are some of the things that they've done to develop a good relationship with the gallery and start mirroring some of those things? Like the people who listen to the shows at Shockbox, there was a time where we would be like, we'd have a thing where we'd let a pickle art in. And so people who listen to that would start to create their own unique pickle art. And every once in a while we'd get a pickle and be like, all right, you're in because you listened. Now, you can take that too far. Obviously, you don't want to abuse something like that. But it just shows that you're paying attention. It shows that you're listening. If you see that a gallery is kind of edgy like Shockbox, you're not going to probably want to just do something that doesn't have an edge to it or something that's, too polite. If that's not the aesthetic that the gallery has, shown in the past in their shows and in their attitude, well, don't show something that is the complete opposite or the antithesis of that. If a gallery, like I said, for example, I used to show my work with La Luz de Jesus in Hollywood, and it's a very famous gallery. It took me a while to get in there. I would submit my work for years. I think I submitted to them about 6 times before I was finally accepted. And their submission process is really long, and they would have the stipulations for submitting to the gallery. If you missed one thing, they wouldn't even look at your work. And, Shockbox, we are a little bit more lenient with that. We'll let some things go and we'll let people in. But, you should be doing your best to hit everything that this gallery is asking for, or everything that the show is asking for. Like I did with La Luz. I've always been meticulous. So even when I was hitting every single standard that they were wanting, and I thought my art was of the highest quality, I still wasn't getting in. It took me about 10 years to get into their shows. And then I got in like 3 or 4 shows in a row, coaster shows, a group show. And, it's because my art got better, and it's because I started to raise my standards, and I started to look at what the gallery was showing, and I started to submit accordingly to that, and that really served me well. So you can be banging your head up against a wall, but really you could just be doing a little bit more behind the scenes detective work and studying some of these things, and it will serve you well moving forward because you will have a much higher probability of getting into a show when you just do that very simple homework at the beginning. A lot of people don't do that, and that will help give you an edge right at the get-go. So first and foremost, be professional, be polite, be enthusiastic, and do your homework. What's next? Well, the next one is a little bit more difficult because it's about resilience and it's about developing a little bit of a thick skin. I think a lot of people nowadays just want things to happen so fast. We've been conditioned by the internet, by social media, by everything we're getting in our society to get everything we want when we want it right now. And that's just not how anything worthwhile happens. That's not how the art world happens for sure. I've been doing this for a lot of time, and I have been rejected more times than I can count. And if I had given up, or if I'd been like, oh my God, how could you reject me? I would have been very resentful. I would have been a bitter artist. I would have maybe quit. I would have maybe made other people's lives hell. But instead, I would just go back to the drawing board. I would keep creating. I would keep doing my work. I would keep honing my craft, and I would keep getting better and better. Sometimes you might be doing all the things that I've said before, and you're still not getting into a show. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that your work is bad. It might just mean keep going. Yeah, you're on the right track. Keep going. Keep honing your craft. Keep getting better, like I'm saying, and you will eventually get there. You'll get to that point where you're in. Or, maybe you have to switch focus and go for some other galleries or do some other things. Maybe this gallery is not right for you. Maybe this theme is not right for you. Maybe you can pivot to a different, area of the art world. But I think first and foremost, let's just realize that it's not a knock on us as artists to be rejected from something. Sometimes your work is just a hair short of getting accepted. So just go back to the drawing board. Keep going, keep digging deeper, keep, honing your craft, like I'm saying, because that will serve you well just as an artist in general. Like if you don't get into a show, still go to the show. Don't just be like, fuck them, I didn't get in the show, so I'm not going. Still go to the show. See the type of work that gets in. We've had some people who have not gotten in and been like, wow, once I saw the caliber of the work in the show, I kind of understand. And you know what? It inspired me to keep improving. And that's the kind of attitude you really need to have as an artist, is just to trust, first and foremost, that you are an artist who has value, that your work has value, that whatever you're doing is cathartic to you, it speaks to you, it's an expression that you're trying to get out there into the world, and that you can keep improving, and eventually you will hit the right audience. And eventually when you put in those hours, whatever the old 10,000 hours, 10 years or 10,000 hours to mastery, I mean, I've done way more than that at this point, and I still get rejected for shows. So we just have to keep honing our craft and keep realizing that not everything's right for us, and it's not a knock on us if we don't get into a show. We have our whole lives to get better and better. I think people sometimes think, well, like my work is already amazing, and it might be already amazing, but you can always get better. Don't take it too personally. And also, as I've said in many of my past episodes, take it as progress. If you get rejected from a show, well, you put yourself out there. You learn something about yourself. You learn something about this gallery. You learn something about the art world. And you can now go back to the drawing board, get better, hone your craft, tighten the screws a little bit, and you will continue to improve. And it's just progress. That's like putting in the reps. It's like a person in the gym lifting weights. That's you putting in the reps. And you're also developing a thicker skin. The more stuff you're submitting to, the more times you get rejected. Sometimes you get accepted. Great. That gives you a little hint that you're on the right track. You're still going to get rejected. Just keep going. I can't really give you the secret sauce to being resilient. It really just comes with time, and trust the process. That's the one thing I can say. Look, it's not the sexiest thing to say in our current climate, in our current culture, but anything worth doing is, difficult. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes some struggle. And honestly, when you get there, when you get to the top of the mountain, you'll look back and be like, I cannot see my life any other way. I'm so glad that I chose this path, and I'm so glad that I went through my struggles, because it made me the resilient artist that I am today. And honestly, it's always been my feeling that with my work, it's like the Steve Martin quote, just be so good that they can't ignore you, basically. That's what we all should be striving for. Well, I don't want to drag this one on too long. We can talk even more about this, and maybe I'll go into it in more detail in the future. But just to summarize, give you a little high-level summary of what we've talked about today. Just make sure that you are being professional. Make sure that you're being polite. Make sure you're being enthusiastic when dealing with a gallery or a show. Always do your homework on the gallery, on the show theme, on the jurors, on everything that revolves around you wanting to get into a specific space or show. And then find a way to mirror other people who have been successful in that gallery or in that framework. Be an artist who is fun or positive to work with, because people are just going to want to work with you if you are bringing something like that to the table. And then finally, be resilient. Remember that everything worth doing is probably going to be difficult, and rejection just comes with the territory as an artist. So pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and just get better at what you do, and you will be successful. I hope you like this episode. Reach out to me on social media if you want to add anything to it. Obviously, I can give more details if you're interested. But that's it for now. Hope you have a great week. Hope you are staying creative, and be good to yourself and be good to everybody else. As always, we'll talk to you soon.
What the hell?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I didn't think it was fair that you dismissed me in that way.
You have been dismissed.
Yeah, but...
No buts. You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Whatever. Like, I don't even care. Your Bob's the weakest link.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.